Our minds are incredibly powerful, and what we tell ourselves on a daily basis has more influence than most people realize. Every thought, every phrase, and every sentence we repeat internally becomes a building block for our mindset, the lens through which we view the world and ourselves. Positive self talk is not just about feeling good. It is the foundation that shapes our attitudes, behaviors, and ultimately the outcomes in our lives. Imagine your mind as a radio. What you choose to tune into determines the channel of thoughts and emotions playing in the background of your life. If the station is full of negativity, doubt, and criticism, then that becomes your reality. But if you consistently tune into a station broadcasting encouragement, hope, and strength, your whole experience shifts. Daily positive self talk acts as mental conditioning. Just like an athlete trains their body repeatedly to build strength and endurance, you must train your mind with empowering messages. When you say things like, I am capable, I can handle this, or I deserve good things, you are planting seeds of confidence and resilience. Over time, those seeds grow into powerful beliefs that influence how you approach challenges, how you solve problems, and how you engage with opportunities. The power behind this process lies in its consistency. One positive thought or phrase, spoken once, might not seem to have much effect. But when repeated daily, it starts to reprogram your subconscious mind. The subconscious doesn't question or analyze. It simply accepts what it hears most frequently. By consistently hearing positive, affirming statements, your brain begins to accept them as truth, which in turn influences your actions and decisions. When you wake up and immediately tell yourself something uplifting, you set the tone for the entire day. Your self-talk becomes the first experience your brain processes. It's like giving your mind a roadmap or instruction manual for how to handle whatever comes next. This early message acts like a filter through which all experiences are evaluated. A positive internal dialogue helps you see obstacles as temporary and solvable rather than permanent roadblocks. Moreover, positive self-talk helps reduce the impact of stress and anxiety. When faced with difficult situations, your internal conversation can either escalate your fears or calm your nerves. For example, telling yourself, I can manage this, or I have overcome challenges before, helps activate your problem-solving mindset instead of triggering a fight or flight response. This mental shift increases your ability to remain focused, make clear decisions, and maintain emotional control. Our minds are also wired to respond to language with emotional and physiological reactions. Positive affirmations trigger the release of neurochemicals like dopamine and serotonin, which improve mood and motivation. When you engage in positive self-talk, you are not only shaping your thoughts, but also influencing your body's chemistry in a way that supports confidence and energy. This mind-body connection is a powerful tool for enhancing performance in any area of life. Another important aspect is how positive self-talk influences your habits and behavior. When your internal dialogue supports your goals and values, you are more likely to take actions aligned with those beliefs. If you tell yourself, I am someone who prioritizes health, you are more inclined to make healthy choices without second guessing. On the other hand, negative self-talk can lead to self-sabotage, procrastination, or giving up when faced with setbacks. It's also important to understand that positive self Talk is not about denying reality or ignoring challenges. It's about choosing a narrative that empowers you to move forward despite difficulties. For example, instead of saying, I can't do this, a more constructive self-talk would be, this is tough, but I am learning and growing. This subtle shift in language opens the door to persistence and growth, rather than resignation and defeat. In practice, developing positive self-talk requires awareness and effort. Most people are not naturally aware of the constant stream of thoughts running through their minds. Becoming conscious of what you tell yourself is the first step. When you catch negative or limiting thoughts, pause and consciously replace them with affirming statements. Over time, this becomes a habit, a new mental pattern that supports your growth. Positive self-talk is like coaching from within. Imagine having a personal cheerleader who encourages you, celebrates your strengths, and reminds you of your worth every day. That internal coach can be your greatest ally in overcoming self-doubt and unlocking your potential. The more you listen to this coach, the louder and clearer their voice becomes, drowning out the negative voices that try to hold you back. Ultimately, the way you talk to yourself daily shapes your identity. It influences how you perceive your abilities, your value, and your future. This internal narrative guides your choices, your motivation, and your perseverance. By cultivating positive self-talk, you are investing in the most important relationship you have, the one with yourself. So, take control of the conversation inside your head. Choose words that lift you up. Speak to yourself with kindness and belief. The daily habit of positive self-talk doesn't just change your thoughts. It transforms your mindset, your actions, and your life. This simple yet powerful practice is the foundation of lasting success and fulfillment. Your brain is not fixed. It's not a rigid machine with permanent programming. It is flexible, adaptable, and always evolving. This ability to change is known as neuroplasticity, and it is the foundation of human potential. Every single day, with every thought you think and every belief you reinforce, you are quite literally reshaping the structure of your brain. That's not philosophy. That's science. What does this mean for you? It means that success isn't just about talent, circumstances, or luck. It's about wiring your brain to think, act, and respond in ways that move you toward the life you want. And this wiring begins with beliefs, especially the ones you choose to reinforce on a daily basis. Your beliefs are like software running in the background. They guide how you perceive challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how confidently you pursue your goals. But here's the crucial part. Beliefs aren't facts. They are patterns of thought that have been repeated so often, they feel like truth. If you've spent years telling yourself, I'm not good enough, or success is for other people, those thoughts become ingrained pathways in your brain. But just as they were built through repetition, they can be rewritten through new, intentional repetition. Consistent reinforcement is the secret. You don't rewire your brain with a single positive thought. You do it with repetition, daily, focused, and intentional. This isn't about tricking yourself or ignoring reality. It's about choosing which beliefs deserve your attention and energy. Because what you focus on, you strengthen. What you reinforce, your brain holds on to and eventually adopts as truth. Every time you repeat an empowering belief, like, I am capable, I have value, or I create my own opportunities. You're firing specific neurons in your brain. And the more often those neurons fire together, the stronger their connection becomes. This process is known as Hebbian learning, summarized by the phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together. That's how new thought patterns are formed. So when you consistently affirm empowering beliefs, you're not just creating positive vibes. You're building stronger neural pathways that support resilience, motivation, and clarity. These pathways then influence how you react in stressful situations, how you interpret feedback, and how you pursue your goals. They become your brain's new default setting. Let's look at a simple example. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm terrible at public speaking, you're reinforcing fear. That belief triggers anxiety every time you face an audience. But if you consistently say, every time I speak, I get better, you're building a belief system that supports growth, not fear. Over time, your brain adopts this new frame and begins to respond with confidence instead of panic. It's important to understand that the brain doesn't care whether the belief is helpful or harmful. It simply strengthens whatever you give it consistently. That's why so many people unknowingly reinforce limiting beliefs. They keep telling themselves stories of failure, rejection, or fear, not realizing that they're training their brain to expect more of the same. The power lies in reversing that process. Empowering beliefs act like internal fuel. They don't eliminate obstacles, but they give you the mindset to face them. When you believe in your resourcefulness, your ability to grow, and your right to succeed, you're more likely to take action and take it consistently. This action reinforces the belief, and a powerful cycle begins. Belief leads to action. Action leads to results. Results strengthen the belief. This cycle is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. The achievers have trained their minds day after day to focus on what is possible. They've made it a habit to speak to themselves with conviction, to challenge limiting thoughts, and to anchor themselves in empowering beliefs, even when life throws chaos their way. The most exciting part. This is available to anyone, regardless of your past, your background, or your current circumstances. It starts with one choice: to take responsibility for your inner narrative. It means being deliberate about what you feed your mind, just like you'd be careful with what you feed your body. You can choose to install beliefs that serve your growth, your goals, and your vision of success. Rewiring your brain for success isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a mental workout. Just as a single visit to the gym won't transform your body, a single positive affirmation won't transform your life. But make it a habit. Just 5 minutes a day reinforcing powerful, empowering beliefs, and your brain begins to align with success. Your thoughts shift. Your actions follow. And over time, so does your entire life. That is the power of consistent reinforcement. That is how you take control of your mind and your future. Success doesn't begin in the outside world. It begins in the neural pathways you strengthen every single day. There's one truth that separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. You are the author of your internal story. Life will throw things at you: unexpected events, criticism, failure, even pain. But none of those things have the final say. What matters more than any external circumstance is the narrative you choose to create in response to it. Your story, your interpretation, your words, your internal dialogue is what ultimately defines your experience. Let that sink in. Two people can face the same obstacle and walk away with entirely different outcomes. One sees it as defeat. The other sees it as a lesson, a redirection, a challenge to rise. What made the difference? Not luck, not talent, not even timing. It was the story they told themselves. You are telling yourself a story every day, whether you're aware of it or not. It's running in the background like a script. And that story becomes your identity. It becomes your standard, your ceiling, your expectations. If your story is one of doubt, scarcity, or limitation, that's what you'll experience. If your story is one of growth, strength, and purpose, you'll start to align your life to that vision. Here's the reality. Most people are letting their story be shaped by their past or their environment. They look around and say, "This is just who I am," or "Things never work out for me," or "I'm not one of those lucky people." That's not truth. That's a decision, a habit, a belief built over time. And just like it was formed, it can be rewritten. You are not stuck with the old narrative. You have the ability, right now, to begin writing a new one that is intentional, one that reflects your values, your goals, your strength. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You need commitment. That's the power of internal ownership. When you take control of your story, you stop waiting for life to change and start creating change from within. You don't need every condition to be perfect. You don't need every voice around you to agree. What you need is to decide that the story you're living must come from your own voice, not the past, not fear, not outside judgment. Even the most challenging circumstances can't override the strength of a clear, empowering internal story. Think of people who faced unimaginable adversity, loss, trauma, rejection, and still built something extraordinary out of it. How? By refusing to let their environment write their ending. They chose their response. They chose the meaning. They chose to speak to themselves in a way that brought light into the darkness. This doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means being honest about your situation while still holding power over the narrative. Instead of saying, "I failed," you say, "I learned." Instead of saying, "This always happens to me," you say, "I'm growing through this." Instead of, "I'm not enough," you say, "I'm becoming who I need to be." Words matter. The words you use with yourself have emotional weight. They shape your energy, your actions, and your belief in what's possible. Every day, your brain listens to your voice more than anyone else's. So ask yourself, what kind of messages are you feeding it? Are they the kind that limit you or the kind that expand you? When you take control of your narrative, you become more resilient. Life's challenges don't disappear, but you're no longer shaken by every wind. You find your center. You create your own meaning. That's what strong internal dialogue does. It makes you unshakable, even when the world feels uncertain. And the best part? You can start this process now. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment. Begin by noticing your inner dialogue. What do you say to yourself when things go wrong? When you make a mistake? When you dream big? Do those words support your growth or suppress it? Awareness is